So one thing that comes up very often is around HIPAA compliance and around protection of PHI. So a couple of things here. Number one, I mentioned we do not process any of the actual the print jobs themselves. Everything stays local on your network. So from a security enhancement relative to print servers, we're providing an additive capability for securing those print jobs by making all that communication local on your network and making it from the end user device or from the backend system direct to the target printer without having to go through a print server in most cases. Additionally, if you have things like affiliate clinics that leverage your consolidated EMR infrastructure and you need to secure those print jobs over the public internet, instead of using things like VPN devices or software VPNs, we can use our service to encrypt those jobs using TLS tunneling from the trusted network in your EMR backend to an affiliate clinic over the public internet using something that we call off-network printing. The other benefit you get here with security of print jobs is around secure release of those print jobs. So making sure the person who printed it is the one that actually picked it up and using a variety of different mechanisms like a badge tap, like a pin entry, or even a mobile app with a QR code release. The other byproduct of utilizing that type of technology is you're also consolidating the amount of consumables that you're utilizing. If every job that you send is going to be secured, that requires someone to actually go to the printer and release that job. And depending on which study you read, anywhere from 5 to 20% of print jobs, particularly in healthcare, that get printed, just get thrown in the trash or recycled. So the idea is to not only use this technology for security of information, but also for reducing waste by print avoidance and making sure that if someone's printing something, they're the ones actually picking it up. So let's take a look at how that would work in practice. So from a management perspective, this is very simple. All I need to do once I have my architecture already set up and all my configurations already set up, I can have a default setting, or I can go to each printer on a printing tab and select my secure print settings. So enabling the same direct IP architecture, now we're just layering another functionality on top of it. How this works for the end user is they would be in one workflow, they would be presented with an interface at the printer. So this would be on the LCD screen of the printer that we push our control panel application to. And I would, let's go back here. So if I'm doing a badge tap, for instance, I would tap the badge at the reader, and then I'm presented with different options here. So if I'm talking about print release, I would click that. Now that the system knows who I am, I can see the jobs that are in my queue, and then I can select those for release here while I'm at the printer. One other thing that you may have seen in here is scan to cloud and scan to email. One of the things that we consistently hear from our customers is we don't want everything necessarily to exist in a paper format. So how do we utilize the MFDs that we already have in place to get things into cloud storage and limit our on-prem storage or having to email ourselves documents? So this is where we can have another workflow inside of the interface. We can integrate with a bunch of different cloud providers. So Google Drive, OneDrive, SharePoint, a bunch of different cloud providers, and have these scans go directly into these locations and accessible from then any computer, any mobile device in there. And I can change preferences even if I wanted to in here, make these black and white instead of color, and these get then scanned into my cloud storage. One other popular use case, so we get the pushback quite often, particularly in healthcare, that secure printing is a great feature to have. It's always been difficult to implement, is what we've found. And the reason for that is what I just showed you before requires compatibility with the printer. And that's going to depend on the firmware of the printer, the age of the printer, the manufacturer of the printer, a whole bunch of different characteristics. And not all printers are going to be able to accept our software. So to get around that, For the use cases where it makes sense to use a mobile release, this allows you to not only integrate with any printer, regardless of manufacturer, device type, single function, multifunction, it also avoids you having to buy badge readers onto the printer themselves and use the mobile device as a release terminal. So how this would work is very similar to what you just saw on the printer. We're just taking that same workflow and putting it on the mobile phone. So this assumes that user has the mobile phone, they've been provisioned the app, and they've logged into the app through one of the identity mechanisms that we talked about before. So once all that is done, I would open up the app, click the little orange button in the right. There's going to be a QR code that you will affix to each printer to identify it. I'll snap a picture of that printer, so now I know which printer to release to. And now I select my jobs that are in my queue and then release them from the mobile app. So same thing you just saw on the printer itself, except we're using the mobile device as that release station and eliminating any of the compatibility and integration challenges on the printer that might come up traditionally from badge release workflows.